now coming to the end of the tour. We're in Cavendish Avenue, St John's Wood, and this is the home of Mr Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney, which in 1965 he purchased this house for £40,000 from a physician called Desmond O'Neill. He moved in May 1966 with Jane Asher, his fiancée, from Wimpole Street. Now it took 14 months or 15 months to do the inside of the house up because it was in a bit of a mess. So that's why there was a delay before they moved in. Now everyone's stayed here, from Tina Turner to Mick Jagger, even Michael Jackson has stayed here. And we always call Paul the shrewd Beatle, or the man of the people, but extremely shrewd, because out of all the 4 Beatles, he was the only one that bought a house close to Abbey Road, which we've just left before, just a left turn there and a right. So he could walk to the studios within 10 minutes. And often the other 3 Beatles stayed here because they all lived out in Surrey in their big mansions, and it was far too far to go. The other stories we have from here, there's been quite a few pictures taken by Linda McCartney in there. One was on the USA single cover of the Ballad of John and Yoko. There's also some pictures on the White Album which were taken by Linda McCartney round at the glass house, greenhouse at the back, in the back garden. The other thing we got here was obviously Martha My Dear, the sheepdog. On the White Album, Martha My Dear, the song comes from the fans walking the dog in Regent's Park. Also, she came in through the bathroom window. That was a break-in through the bathroom window at the side of the house. And Paul is not here at the moment. He's in lockdown in New York, and if you're watching this on YouTube, Paul, your house is very, very safe. There's 2 other things to mention connected to this house. One was when Paul one day supposedly hid in this house here behind you. If you can just zoom in on that camera, just to show this house here. He hid there before the fans got here. All the fans were crowding around looking to try and get a glimpse of him, and he was actually in there looking at the fans, and they didn't know. Another thing was, the fans got treated one day, the music room, which is on the top floor just up there, they got an impromptu rendition of Blackbird, live by Mr McCartney from the top floor of the house. And the house actually proved to be, as we know Paul was a shrewd Beatle, a very good buy. For 40,000 today, it's worth over £10 million. And now we're going to move on, and as we walk along, I'm going to talk a little bit about the property along here. The property along here, as you can see, is Victorian. If you have a look over here, the big wide entrance was originally for the sedan chairs, which were the human taxis, and there used to be scrapers on each side to scrape the mud off. And most of these houses here would have been built round about 20 to 30 years after Abbey Road, the actual house of Abbey Road. And the other thing, were houses in St John's Wood in those days were called villas, mainly because it just sounded better, and also a lot of the famous people, the aristocracy, that they had their mistresses living in these houses. So this is a very affluent area, as you can see. Right, let's move on. Here. There's a plaque here for, this is a blue plaque for Billy Fury. Before I talk about Billy Fury, I'm going to talk about blue plaques just for a minute. Just to let you know that blue plaques are actually erected, there's hundreds all over London, but you know, the person has to have been dead for more than 20 years. There's green plaques as well, which is where normally something actually happened in the building. People may have lived there as well, but there was obviously songs written in there, or paintings painted. But if you look here, this is where Billy Fury lived. Now, Billy Fury was from an era just before the Beatles. It was the teen idol era, when people like Cliff Richard was around, Bobby Vee, all these sort of singers. Billy Fury was absolutely worldwide famous. He had the same amount of hit singles as the Beatles, which totaled 24, which tells you how big he really was. He also spent around about 335 weeks on the charts. Again, a very long time. His real name, something I forgot to mention, his real name was Ronald Wycherley. As you can see, he died quite young. He was nearly 43 when he died, and he died of a heart attack. And then he was actually buried in Mill Hill Cemetery. Originally he was from Dingle in Liverpool, which was where Ringo Starr came from, which was a very poor area, but it just shows you how well Billy did, because this was his main London residence in the heart of one of the most wealthy areas in the whole of London. And that ends our tour for today. We will be doing some more features, some more tours on David Bowie, on Jimi Hendrix. We'll also be bringing in some City of London history. We'll be doing a Fleet Walk. We'll be doing St Paul's, Clerkenwell. We look forward to seeing you another day. Thank you very much.